A pleasant good morning to everyone, and welcome once again to another edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Today's guest menu looks like this, and it's loaded. It's loaded. Courtney Gaucher, Vice President and Director of Athletics at Florida A&M University. He will join me very shortly here in hour number one. Following Courtney will be Coach Sean Woods, men's basketball coach at Southern University. That completes the guest list for hour number one. Hour number two, Coach Van Pettaway joins me as usual. And then following Coach Van Pettaway, Charles Edmond. That's what the guest menu looks like on today's edition of the Carlos Brown Show. Simply just trending, of course. COVID-19 is in full force. FAMU football, volleyball, indoor track, they simply opt out of 2020-2021 season. And I'll just ask you, how do you feel about spring sports in general in the Southwestern Athletic Conference? What's your percentage? Percentage that it's going to take place? It's not going to take place? Or it's going to take place, but it's going to come with stoppages. You know, you start, then you have a stop. As you can see throughout the world of sports, those are the things that are happening. But we will visit with Courtney Gaucher first. He will give us the inside perspective on the decision to basically opt out of the 2021 spring football, volleyball, indoor track, and field. Then we'll find out what other sports are they going to continue with that. Will there be a chance that they'll opt out of basketball, baseball, or they haven't determined that yet? So he'll give us the insight on that. Then Coach Sean Woods, he's straightforward. We'll ask him about preseason practice before the season starts for Southern University. What's the latest on their pre-conference schedule? And we'll kind of get his perspective on the SWAC competition in the conference. But also, if he cares to do so, if he wants to weigh in on the predicted order of finish. You know, most coaches are going to say, we're just concentrating on our ball club and we're not worried about predictions, the prognosticators. But I'll ask him the question. He'll have an opportunity to talk about that, discuss it if he cares to do so. Also, from a political standpoint, there's a new president-elect. Joe Biden will become president of the United States. So hopefully now, with that being said, the country gets really, 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 really serious about COVID-19. Do you long for the days where you won't maybe have to talk about COVID-19? Or is it simply something we'll just have to deal with the rest of our lives? We shall see. Quickly, at this point now, I'll check in with the producer of today's show, Dr. Michael Prince. Brother Prince, good morning to you.
Good morning, sir. How are you on this lovely day?
I'm doing fine. Got a lot of guests coming up on today's show, but you are doing well.
Yeah, man, we're doing quite well, man. And you got as they say, a who's who on the gamut today, man. When I get big and older, I'm gonna try to be like you.
Oh, flattery doesn't get you any points on this show right now. But I will say this just reminds me of something I discussed last week, and sometimes you have to be humbled. Sometimes you will be humbled. And I was kind of tough on the New Orleans Saints. You remember that last week?
Yeah. I was trying to, say 5-2 is still 5-2, but oh no, not Mr. Brown.
Well, I think I said something to the effect, albeit at the time, their record, not a good team at that record.
No, you said the worst 5-2 team in the league. That's what you said.
So
I'm not trying to be a mockingbird or nothing.
I will eat crow. Yeah, I will have to eat crow. That was a tremendous victory over Tampa Bay.
Convincing victory.
Taken out to the woodshed.
Yeah.
Good old-fashioned butt whipping.
Yeah, and left them out to heal.
And, of course, you looked at some of the national prognosticators, and some just tried to make, an excuse. Offensive coordinator for Tampa, they were throwing too many passes down the field, too much lateral passing. No. Their O-line got whipped, no protection. Brady did not play well.
Right.
All across the board. Now, Tampa Bay defense is pretty good. Mm-hmm. But I guess the Saints, with the majority of all of their weapons back, Breeze looked.
He looked the part. But here's something, and I know it's just all coincidence, but I found it rather intriguing being a Steelers fan. The day you activate Antonio Brown is when you get the worst performance of your team's young season thus far.
Just a coincidence.
It is. It's just a coincidence. Antonio Brown, a dynamic talent. But Shazier was on record for saying that the addition of Brown to Tampa may have been the start of the end.
I don't know. If he wasn't even on the team, they still would have got their butts kicked.
Oh, now you're talking big and bad now, Mister. I don't know. They're the worst.
That's my opinion, but I'm going to tell you. He could have been a ghost nowhere near Tampa Bay when it was a complete victory.
Oh, no doubt. But that's why I said coincidence. That's why I said coincidence. I'm not a conspiracist type individual, but, if you were reading tea leaves.
Well, speaking of that, we have a listener weighing in, but you can email me, thecarlosbrownshow@gmail.com, over all of the social media platforms. You can also, I have on Facebook Messenger, I have it open. You can leave me a message there. I try to get to most of them. Sometimes I'm overwhelmed at so many of them coming in.
But you are the king of multitasking, though. I have to give you credit to that, man.
Well, personally, I think I can do much better.
Well, we all can do much better because we're striving on being the very best that we can be. But you be holding it down, brother. I can't do all that.
Well, those are some of the ways.
I'm limited on some of my executional levels.
Well, and speaking of that, a listener says a 50-50 shot at this point, but the commissioner laid out the options months ago. Yeah, and what he's alluding to is when you look at just how COVID, and it was predicted to rise up again. Mm-hmm. The cases would peak again in correlation with, the flu and the cold weather.
Right.
And boy, it's running rampant again. I mean, from the high school levels, you have stoppages, collegiate level, it's affecting pro football.
The SEC was practically shut down this weekend.
Yeah. Well,
and that's good. That's good for the likes of my Missouri Tigers and your LSU Tigers. Not a good year for defending champions, man.
Well, I'm not. Wait a minute. I'm not claiming LSU now, but
well, you claim LSU secretly.
Yeah, well, no, they're the state institution.
And I know someone very close to you who claims LSU.
Interesting. Are they number one on that person's list?
Yeah.
Well, in my order, I finished Southern University, Southwestern Athletic Conference.
Oh, I know. Look, I said someone close to you, not you. It was someone close to you.
Yeah. But I can only speak for myself. I know who's number one in my book. and so, speaking of that, how are you going to feel if the cases continue to trend upwards really bad? The possibility of football. Then you're looking at basketball, and it's going to be interesting when Courtney comes on, and I'll ask him what is the status of basketball,
right?
And then baseball. But I guess everything depends on how the cases look. The next 2 months?
It depends on that.
Will be the worst one, the worst 2 months.
But I still think that basketball has a greater chance of being successful because you have less moving parts. You don't have as many to keep up with in a basketball atmosphere than you would of a football atmosphere. It's just too many individuals, man, and they can do one thing in the presence of authorities, but once they get isolated on their own, you can't predict what these guys are going to do away from the quote-unquote protection.
Well, couldn't that be the case with all student athletes?
Well, yes,
when they're outside their realm and they're intermingling with student athletes on the campus, that's always that possibility.
It's always that possibility, but I have a greater control factor with 27 people, counting your staff and your players and trainers involved, to try to keep up with 100+ people that is involved in football. It's just too much without having the necessary financial resources.
See, what I'm worried at, as you look at the list, and of course, not many of go into bars and restaurants, but then you have arenas, basketball arenas, and you look on that scale.
Mm-hmm.
That's even an environment that could be very dangerous.
Well, you brought up bars, and maybe you can riddle me this because I'm not a bar type guy, but what's the difference that if the curfew is 10 o'clock or 1 o'clock at a bar? I don't understand that.
Because you can go in at 6 o'clock, and if someone's, got the virus.
Yeah, I mean,
you can spread it at 6, 10. I guess,
Does the virus have work hours or something, or off days?
Well, I don't know. Maybe more people go out later. I don't know, but it won't be me in there.
I just like, okay.
Yeah, even before the pandemic, just those days have passed. I had my time doing all.
So
that.
Were you a stripper club guy?
No, never been in one in my life.
Well, I can't say I've never been in one, but I was not a stripper club guy though. I'll tell you the story one day of how I ended up at a place off of 290 in Houston, and I ended up getting my money back. But I have to tell you that on another day because we don't have time right now.
That sounds frightening.
It's not frightening at all. It's not.
Oh, my. Isn't it time for our first guest now? I'm tell you.
Did I scare you into your segment?
Well, no. I'm trying to stay on time. And speaking of time, I'll also talk to Courtney about, based on now what's going to happen, they're going to get ready to be in the inaugural season of the Southwestern Athletic Conference.
And that's what it's all moving toward, man. Shut all this stuff down. Let's get our mind focused on the SWAT. Let's get it done.
Wow. Alyssa says in a bar after 10 p.m., people tend to get drunk and more careless later in the night.
You can get drunk at 6 o'clock. You can get drunk at 8 o'clock and become careless.
But I think the percentages goes up. Some people come in. It's just like a sports talk show. People are coming in. Not everybody that's here now, right at the show. You may have people coming in.
I understand that,
but
but it's still the same atmosphere.
Yeah, and inside.
Yeah, and it's a closer, tighter deal. Now, when I think of bars, I think of what we call lounges, or this, that, and the other, hole in the walls. You got your drinks flowing and going and people laughing, talking loud, spitting and flowing stuff all over the place. It's still the same atmosphere, whether you're intoxicated at 10, 12, or 6 or 8, you're still in that same atmosphere.
Well, you know how you can fix that, folks?
Shut it all down.
No, in my man cave or in my living room or somewhere in the casa, in the house, and if I want to turn that bottle all the way up, I can.
Well, turn it up then, bro.
I don't have to worry about driving while intoxicated.
What's your drink of choice?
Intoxicated on the couch.
What's your drink of choice?
If I want to do that. So, in other words, just do the right thing. And
what's your drink of choice, man? Real quickly, what's your drink of choice?
I have several. Anything with
don't say
fruit juice.
I was going to say don't say fruit juice.
Fruit juice and a little the vodka.
Oh, you're a vodka guy.
Oh, it could be cranberry juice and vodka. Boy, we've really gone on this one. We've went from COVID to favorite drink. On that note, I am going to take a time out. And when we come back, Courtney Gaucher, he'll join me, Vice President and Director of Athletics at FAMU. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com.
One voice. It can get the point across, but it only carries so far. Add a voice. It's richer, louder, but that has limits too. Add a third voice. It's even more powerful. Add another, and another, and many, many more, and we are stronger than ever. That's the power of a community coalition. They help community groups, faith groups, civic organizations, PTAs, employers, and many others in your community organize their resources and focus them where they're needed most, like fighting to keep kids away from drugs. Ask a group that you belong to if they should belong to a community coalition. It's easy to get involved. Visit helpyourcommunity.org and they'll tell you exactly how your group can help. That's helpyourcommunity.org, because you get more when we get together. Brought to you by the Office of National Drug Control Policy and the Ad Council.
Broadcasters come into our lives on radio and TV, bringing us information and entertainment. Broadcasters are there for us, but who is there for them when they fall on hard times? The Broadcasters Foundation of America provides financial assistance to broadcasters in acute need due to a critical illness, accident, or other serious misfortune. If you know of a broadcaster on the air or behind the scenes who may need our help, please share our message. Visit broadcastersfoundation.org.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. First guest of today's show, Courtney Gaucher, Vice President and Director of Athletics at Florida A&M University. Mr. Gaucher, good morning to you. Appreciate the time.
Good morning. Good morning. It's always good to catch up with you, my friend, and looking forward to this interview.
I appreciate it as always, and looking forward to having a conversation with you. And of course, FAMU in the news this past week. FAMU Athletics opts out of the 2021 spring football, volleyball, and indoor track and field competition. Courtney, tell us all about it. The decision of opting out of 2021 spring football, indoor track and field, and volleyball.
Yeah, overall, a very, very tough decision for us, our university, and our administration. We've had, it's been a tough year, just on a bunch of different fronts. But it's also been a very good year to us, in many levels. But, ultimately, what was important to us was the health and safety of our student athletes and our kids. And every institution, every program's circumstances are drastically different. But, the Florida Classic was kind of off the board this year when our state peer, Bethune-Cookman, decided to opt out. That obviously kind of changed the dynamics around traveling within the conference and, would require us to stretch a little bit further north. Norfolk was going to jump into the southern division of the schedule, but obviously Norfolk's nowhere near, Tallahassee. And so, we really had to weigh a lot of the logistical challenges and say, hey, is it worth it? We landed in a spot that, hey, we were going to forego and really focus on our inaugural season in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. And, bittersweet. Our kids understood it. We've been very transparent through the process, but ultimately I feel like it was the right thing to do. And you're seeing it around the country. I mean, when you have perennial programs like LSU and Alabama, who is supposed to kick off today, and Maryland, Ohio State, it shows you the gravity of this thing. I think there was 15 FBS games for this weekend that were canceled. So this thing didn't get any better anytime soon. So when you see the writing on the wall, there's no need in really, wasting those resources when you're already operating on a margin and those type of things for your kids.
Visiting with Courtney Gaucher, Vice President, Director of Athletics at Florida A&M University. You mentioned that, you were transparent with the student athletes, but this was a collective decision. And talk about the coaches and staff when the news, you relayed the news to them. Basically, they were in the same boat, understanding, disappointed, but understanding.
Absolutely. Well, we've, since the pandemic hit, we've had weekly updates with all of our head coaches, all of our programs. And so even though, hey, we were giving it our best shot and trying to kind of make everything work, it was always kind of back of mind that, hey, if this doesn't happen, this is the result. But in particular with Coach Simmons, the day before we made the decision, he and I were in my office and, we're making phone calls and we're putting it, we're drawing out scenarios and just trying to see what we can make happen. And ultimately, he and I realized, this is in the best interest of our program. And, it wasn't a popular decision, just from morale and just an emotional perspective. So many of our fans and our kids were really looking forward to having an opportunity to have, some level of normal. But again, we just couldn't get over the health and safety concerns around, trying to make this thing work under these type of tremendous circumstances. And, we landed there.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you say that, about the fan base, because that was going to be my next part. Have you gotten any feedback from fan base and your alumni?
Yeah, the feedback has been kind of overwhelmingly positive. We know how this thing is affecting the Black and brown community. For a lot of our fans and donors and people who support our program, even they try to put them in an environment where, do they feel comfortable coming to, to support our program, wherever it may be? Does somebody get sick? And that's kind of the memory that they have about FAMU, football, volleyball, or whatever, they were coming to see that, hey, I got sick there and my loved one's sick and fighting for their life, et cetera, et cetera. Because the dynamics around this virus are just so great. We can't control it. What we can control is minimizing exposure, minimizing risk. And obviously we felt that this decision did that for our institution. Our kids are going to continue to work out and condition. We shifted our mind and our focus to winning a championship in 2021. That goal hasn't changed. And so even though our timelines have changed a little bit, we still got our eyes on the prize.
Courtney, of course, FAMU in the state of Florida, and you have a governor there that, just from the outside looking in, maybe open up things too soon. With COVID really rampant across the country, but specifically in Florida, did that weigh in too as far as trying to provide a safety net for your student athletes, at least, participating in sports?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, Florida is a destination state, just from a tourism perspective, a lot of sport enterprise here in the state of Florida. I mean, with your NFL and NBA teams, and quite frankly, hey, the state of Florida was the host of the bubble, and so there's always kind of been that, I guess you could say, overarching pressure to say, everything else is going on in the state and we're deciding not to. But again, it just, the economics have to make sense, for us at our institution, we've seen a tremendous decline in sponsorship and advertisement support because of the pandemic. Businesses are cutting back. Partnerships are kind of, pausing until they feel like they can get their full value. And so, companies, even if you play a football game, you can't have any fans, or you can only have 5,000 fans. Do they feel like their return on investment is there? And so we've seen that, which is another, byproduct of this in particular. And so, yes, the political pressures have been there. But again, we landed in a place where, hey, the economics didn't make sense, the risk versus reward, putting our kids in those type of positions. And then quite frankly, we're committed to student success at FAMU. And the environment in which we would have placed our kids to try to do this, not with 100% certainty, knowing if we could even pull the games off, as you're seeing around the country, that's not a position and an environment of success. And so, again, deferring to a time where we could manage the circumstances a little bit better than we can today.
And Courtney, wouldn't it, I guess this question to you, as far as putting on a home game in COVID-19, is it safe to say it would not be beneficial financially?
Yeah, I mean, on the football front, I mean, it's simple math. We're in the top 10 in FCS football attendance in the country. And, that's a big number for us. And so, and here in the state of Florida, in our higher education system, we're not allowed, we receive zero subsidies from the university. By state law, we can't. And so, the way we support our athletic program is, we eat what we kill. And so if you're not making revenue from ticket sales, you've got to make it make sense to be able to pay the ushers and the parking attendants and the concessionaires and all of the above that go into logistically putting a game on, or spending $40,000 or $50,000 to travel to a destination. Typically you offset those expenses by guarantee games. Well, the majority of, all the Power 5 conferences that, or the FBS conferences that would generally pay a guarantee, none of those conferences are competing in the spring. And so, again, just the economics and the challenges around where we are just didn't make sense.
I understand. I've heard that from a couple other director of athletics in your new conference, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, visiting with FAMU VP and Director of Athletics, Courtney Gaucher, here on the Coles Brown Show. Courtney, what's the status of the other spring sports, basketball, baseball?
Yeah. So basketball, we are going to move forward with for a number of reasons. One, smaller groups. We certainly think we can manage the expectations associated with the protocols. And then the expenses, to kind of move a basketball team or to host a basketball game are totally different than football. And so, we do have some opportunities to make money to both of our basketball programs. And so we're going to move forward with those plans, non-conference schedule starting November 25th. Our men open up with Florida Gulf Coast down in Fort Myers, and our women will host Florida State at the Al Lawson Center. And so excited about that. And then the rest of our spring sports, again, we're continuing to assess things as dictated by the virus. But when you think about baseball and softball and golf, the opportunities of transmission are extremely low. They are not contact sports. They are outside and all of those type of elements. And so we're hopeful that, again, virus driven, that we'll be in a better place and that these sport programs will continue. Bowling, women's tennis, same thing. Right now we are slated to move forward full force. But we will still have these very stringent testing protocols and all of those type things, associated with competing. But, the Rattlers are ready to strike. There's not a student athlete that's associated with our program who's not ready to compete and do their part. We're focused on winning championships. Really excited about the product we'll see with our basketballs. Our baseball teams, the 2009, they're the reigning baseball champions, conference champions. And then, quite frankly, the APGA Tour just released that we have the number one golfer, not minority golfer, but number one golfer in the country as a part of our team. And, oh, by the way, in the top 10, we have 5 of the top golfers in the country. And so, so we're fired up really about what we do have to offer in the spring and to be able to close this academic year out the right way. And then, we're anxious to get into the SWAC and raise a little hell.
I kind of knew you were going to go in that direction. I could kind of tell. I could kind of sense it, 2021. Because even in your release, you said we will shift our focus to achieving our academic priorities while planning a safe return to play in fall 2021, our inaugural season in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Let the games begin. But we got to get through some tough challenges ahead. But, hey, we'll see what happens. Courtney, as far as back to basketball and, of course, baseball, do you see a point where there will be no fans at these events?
Absolutely. We are assessing that on a monthly basis. Obviously, virus driven, but to start our season, all of our home games, we will have no fans. We are going to create our own bubble. And so essentially it is the two teams, the officials and game operations officials. We're not allowing any fans, students, spectators, general admission, any of that. We are looking at active ways to kind of bring these competitions to Rattler Nation, through streaming services and national broadcast, things of that nature. Because there is a thirst, for Rattler athletics. And so we are being creative, but unfortunately, yes, we will not have any fans. It's just the right thing to do right now.
Yeah, I understand that. And it's going to be interesting to see how everything unfolds. And Courtney, hopefully, of course, there's talk, from a medical standpoint of a vaccine, maybe distributed nationwide in March, April. We'll see. And then, of course, you'll be in the mood of now being in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. And with that being said, I'm sure there's still excitement about that. You guys get a lot of conversation, I know, on this show about coming into the conference. So where are you as far as from a PR standpoint coming into the conference, the Southwestern Athletic Conference?
Well, we're fired up, and again, I'll say this. A lot of good colleagues in that league, really excited about what Commissioner Charles McClellan is doing, just his vision, his proactiveness, his progressiveness. That's what it's all about. That's the reason we're joining the conference. But then again, I think you're going to see the blue bloods of Black college athletics and these perennial powerhouses come together to take Black college athletics and lift up our universities to another level. No secret, hey, we open up in the Orange Blossom Classic in Miami, which is a major media market, right? It's a great opportunity. We're going to step onto a national stage. And then, quite frankly, we're going to bring Dion, Coach Prime Time, whatever they call them. We're going to bring him down to Miami and remind him how we play football in Tallahassee. And so, and by the same token, we'll set the tone for the rest of the league to understand that we're coming. And, that the Rattlers will strike and strike and strike again. And so there we go. So anyway, we're looking forward to that. And I've definitely been working on my trash talk for the league. I got a couple friends in the league. AD Ashley Robinson at Jackson State, so we read each other every blue moon, and some other colleagues in the league. But we're really excited about it, and ultimately, again, I do think our inaugural game in Miami is going to be the hottest ticket in the country. I suggest if you don't have it on your plans to be there, you might want to do so because it's going to be epic on many scales. Again, I think the national exposure. And then, quite frankly, you're going to see two great football products. And then we got a surprise. We are going to march the magnificent Marching 100 out and show the Sonic Boom how a real marching band does it. So and then later in the year we'll get down there to Baton Rouge and show y'all folks how we do it. And we like to keep everybody on their toes.
I understand that and spoken like a true director of athletics. Back up your program, back up your team. For some reason, and shame on me, I wasn't sure if FAMU and Southern would get together. Oh no, I don't believe that. But have the discussion, have committees met? Is there something that we should maybe know or look forward to hearing about as far as those interdivisional games? Quite honestly, will FAMU and Southern University play every year?
Well, I'll tell you this. We are working on schedules. They will be released soon. And I think the commissioner has been very intentional. He's going to give the fans and the institutions the matchups that they want to see. And so without obviously releasing too many details before the league does, again, I think you'll see these perennial powerhouses match up. I think you will see us get to cities around the country, and you're going to see some good football. And, so I'm pretty sure that the commissioner took into consideration just all the elements about, brand power, the exciting matchups that, quite frankly, I think all fan bases want to see and try to keep natural rivalries intact. So we're really excited about that.
I don't know. I thought I heard you after you were talking about the Jackson State game. Did I hear you say then you'll show Baton Rouge? I thought I heard you say you're coming to Baton Rouge. But
we just might, we just might, and we'll get down there to see what the Jaguars are talking about, and they canceled on us this year, so we kind of let them off.
Well, I'm not gonna blame it on COVID, but
oh no, we ain't gonna blame COVID, so they jumped out on us, but that's okay. We showed them some great Southern hospitality in Tallahassee, and showed them how it's done on the field.
But that was an interesting game because I had Coach Simmons on a couple of months ago, and great atmosphere. He sounded very confident when FAMU drove 97 yards. And basically won the game on that drive, and he felt very confident. And I think it should be an excellent opportunity to face FAMU again. I really do.
Absolutely.
And again, hopefully things will be in a better situation as far as this pandemic. But you're absolutely right. People are excited. Some are saying that, hey, the rest of the conference, we're excited as well. It's going to be a competitive situation week in and week out.
No doubt.
Into the conference. And I think FAMU and Bethune coming in, it's going to make everybody bring their game.
Quality programs across the board, and now you've got them all in the same conference. And, to your point, can't wait to see our kids compete, get some of the best in the country. And again, I've heard nothing but great things about the food down in Baton Rouge. And my mother she lives there. And so we'll have a little bit of a house divided when we make our way to Baton Rouge. And she said she didn't know if she was going to be pulling for the Jaguars or the Rattlers. And I said, well, now, wait a minute now.
Boy.
Wait a minute now.
It's even a tough situation, huh?
Yeah, All right, come on, Mama. But no, that's those are some of the great things that we're looking forward to, and just that competitive spirit, and for our kids, just hey, let's get back to normal, and I think it'll be very family reunion like when we can all get back together and play some ball.
Yeah, it really will be. Well, Courtney, transparent as always, fitting right into the conference. And I say that in a jokingly way because you have FAMU prepared to come in. No, he wasn't joking.
Hey,
but it's going to make for a spectacular time. I can't wait, and I still hear from the Bethune people. They're ready for y'all as well. So,
I told my good friend Lynn Thompson, last year, I said, a cat only has 9 lives, and so we are moving forward. 9, hey, that's 9
lives. Somehow, Courtney, I know about streaks. Boy, it could be a good thing and it could be a bad thing.
No doubt.
It's going to be interesting. Courtney, appreciate the time as always, and I'll look forward to talking with you again real soon.
No doubt. You guys be safe and have a great rest of the day.
You as well. Be safe, my friend.
Thanks, man.
That was Courtney Gaucher, VP, Director of Athletics at FAMU. Boy, you got to love Courtney. If I didn't know any better, I'd say he was from Louisiana. I mean, FAMU, they're ready, and hopefully all of this will just be better as far as the pandemic. We can move on from that, at least be in a better situation, a better place, and then we can kind of get back to the sports world that we know and love. So on that note, I'm going to take the time out, and when I come back, I'm going to visit with another guest Coach Sean Woods, men's basketball coach at Southern University. And hopefully, he's going to be as transparent as Courtney was. I believe he will. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show.
The Purple Drip Daiquiri and Grill is a restaurant to soothe your Caribbean taste buds. Located at 629 Sharon Street in Prairie View, Texas, the Purple Drip Daiquiri and Grill has a variety of options to choose from. Curry goat, curry chicken, stewed beef, jerk chicken, oxtails, barbecue chicken, pork chops, chicken tenders, meatloaf, hamburgers, nachos, turkey wings, fried chicken, and don't forget the sides: white rice, green beans, pork and beans, mashed potatoes, cabbage, rice and peas, French fries, and fried cabbage. The Purple Drip has convenient hours to satisfy any appetite. Monday through Fridays, 10 a.m. to 12 a.m. Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 1 a.m. The Purple Drip, we're dripping out the spot. Call and make your order today. 346-978-2875. That number again, 346-978-2875. The Purple Drip Daiquiri and Grill, Prairie View, Texas. The Purple Drip Daiquiri and Grill is a restaurant to soothe your Caribbean. Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union has 13 different locations to better serve you. Locations in Rosenberg, Missouri City, Katy, College Station, Bryan, Brenham, and Waller, Texas. For more information, you can contact them on their toll-free number, 855-391-2149. Or you can send an email to information@bvscu.org.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. My next guest on today's show, men's basketball coach at Southern University, Coach Sean Woods. Coach Woods, good morning to you. How you doing, sir?
Good morning, man. Good morning.
Good morning to you. Boy, preseason practice. So far at Southern University, you guys working hard, I'm sure.
Yeah, we've been hitting and missing, man. We've had a couple of bouts with positive testing with COVID-19, man. So it's been a battle. You know what I'm saying? You get going, and somebody at camp, comes up positive, and then you got to shut it down, and you go back. And, man, it's been trying, man. This is not a typical season, a typical preseason, and with coaches, we're control freaks, and, when you don't have control and you got to bow down to this situation, man, it makes it difficult for you and your players.
Well, Coach, when this happens, I know you have a protocol to go through, but who do you lean on? Do you talk to other coaches? Because like you have stated, you've never seen anything like this before. Who do you fall on for emotional support?
I mean, anybody you can, man. Anybody you can, because, this is trying mentally for coaches too, I mean, and I just feel so bad for student athletes or young people, period, during these times, because, this is supposed to be the best time of your life, and you stuck in a room. You can't go out. You got to wear a mask all the time. You can't socialize like you used to. It's been a trying time, man. And, not only coaching, but we got to do social work mental awareness deals and things like that, because you never know what's going through a kid's mind right now under these circumstances. And there's a lot of mental anguish and things like that going on that people haven't been talking about a lot here lately that needs to be addressed, because, this is just a difficult situation for young people. I mean, not only young people, for adults like us too, and especially coaches, who can't do what they normally do, and then the season's shortly approaching us.
Yeah, that's interesting that you bring that up, Coach Wood, because I was watching one of the national shows and the mental aspect of all this. You're absolutely right. You're starting to see a lot of problems associated with that. So, you got to almost save the world. You're there to coach, help shape their basketball careers, and help them, put them in a position to graduate, and then you have to deal with all of this. So, Coach Woods, with that being said, as much as you can, in spite of with COVID and what we've just talked about, how has practice been besides that? Have you been able to get some work in?
Well, we've been able to get some work in, but not like I want to. You know what I mean? Because we didn't have a summer. We got started late just because, the state of Louisiana was really hit hard with cases. So we couldn't start right when school started in August. We had to start shortly, a little bit after Labor Day. And, because guys aren't in shape, hadn't really done much in those 6-7 months that they've been out. That was the main thing you had to do. You had to get their bodies right before you start going up and down and banging a little bit, because now you got to worry about injuries. You know what I mean? So you got to, take your time doing this. And by the time you hit your stride, then all of a sudden one case will set you back for, 2 weeks. And now you got to sit out again for 2 weeks. Then when you come back, you're starting all over again. You don't want to just jump in because they're not in shape again. And, you're trying to get back. So, we're just trying to cover the bases, man, and get in the best shape possible. The good thing is we have a veteran basketball team, for the most part, that knows what we're trying to do and was part of the season that we had last year that got cut short because of COVID. We were, playing as well as anybody in the country. But, right now it's just been so frustrating for them, because we get started and we got to, get cut off. We had a few injuries, so you throw that in there. So it's been a trying time, Just I tell you what, it's making coaches be more creative. I'll tell you that.
I'm visiting with Coach Sean Wood, men's basketball coach at Southern University. Well, Coach, can we talk about some new additions that you think that will help the program? And then you mentioned about returning players. A good bit of returning players, and then we'll. I guess I'm going to ask this question now, in spite of everything that you've told me so far. The predicted order of finish, or you could just tell me, Carlos, I don't even want to talk about that because I've got to concentrate on my team. But new additions, you think that will help your basketball program?
Well, we had 5 new additions, which was pretty good, man. We signed two big guys. Harrison Henderson transferred by way of USC, then went to Milwaukee. Then we also got Andre Allen transferred from Arizona State. One 6'10" and a half, the other one 6'9". It's like I said, it's just been tough because they've been, they're new addition, trying to get them acclimated and just haven't had enough practice time due to whatever, injury here, there, or whatever. But I see great promise in those two because the only 2 guys that we really missed from last year is Amel Kokovic and Darius Williams-Day, our 4 and 5, starting 4 and 5. So, and then we got another addition with, Sam Kalo from Northeast Oklahoma, and, Deshaun Woods, prep school point guard. And then we got, Andre Torre, who's a transfer 6'8" wing, from Howard, who's going to be got a chance to be really good for us. And then Jamarcus Jones, junior college transfer from Pearl River. So, we the pieces look good. We just got to put it all together and have some continuity and enough practices right now. That's been the only thing. I think we got the right pieces. Is just putting it all together and having enough practice time to really solidify what we're trying to do and continue what we left off last year.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. Coach Sealy and then Burns. Talk about those two. Demary Burns and how you pronounce his first name? I know Seeley.
Shivers, you mean Asante Shivers?
No. Samikolo Seeley. You mentioned him a second ago.
Sam Kalo Seeley. Yeah.
Sam Kalo. Yeah. Wow, that name. Yeah, very intriguing to me. But him and Burns.
Well, Sam Kalo is a junior college transfer that's going to be new this year, and then Burns is, I thought was one of the unique freshmen in the country last year, especially in our conference. He's back and ready to go. Real talented, tough-minded kid. Bring your lunch pail type guy. Who plays with great energy. From New Orleans, and Sam Kalo's the same thing from the wing spot. I mean, those two guys right there are typical Sean Woods type of players that's relentless. Some of what I call dogs that just loves to compete and tries to pose their will on you from an energy and effort standpoint.
Go ahead. Sorry.
So those two are, I'm really looking forward to this, especially DJ coming back after a year on his belt, and then Sam Kalo ready to get him started.
And then, Coach, you mentioned about plenty of returning players. Of course, your son signed with Southern University, Deshaun Woods. But I'm looking for LaMarcus Lee.
Bradford. You got LaMarcus Lee, Michael Bradford. You got Asante Shivers. You got Jalen Sadler, who was dealing with concussion issues for the beginning of the year last year, and then once we got him back, that's when we really hit our stride. Because he was a sophomore last year, started point guard for us as a freshman, and to bring him off the bench with that second unit, man, was big time. And we never missed a beat once we went to our bench. And hopefully that'll be the same this year also, but he's going to be probably implemented to the starting lineup now. So, the depth that we have at the guard spot is going to be the strength of our team.
And Coach, once again, I've heard what you talked about, having the chemistry, continuity, and, with players testing positive for COVID. Then you have predicted auto finish, the virtual media day. What does that mean to you, if anything, now, in spite of what you've told me earlier about the challenges that you've had to face in this basketball program with COVID-19? Does predicted auto finish, what does that mean to you?
Well, I mean, everybody's striving to be, the number one deal. My thing is, I want to be right there. If we can get through this season, I want to be the best team in the league, so we're going to continue to strive to do our best throughout these circumstances. But right now, that's the number one goal, and that's always going to be our goal. And every time we step on that floor, we're trying to get to that situation being the best, but it's just another dynamic to this situation. Right now I'm really working on our guys mentally and, getting through some of these injuries right now and just keeping their minds tight and that hunger, which allowed us to be who we were last year. This is just a difficult situation, but, these guys are so hungry and ready to go that they get kind of discouraged a little bit when we have to shut down or or it took us so long to get started. So the hunger and the goal is still the same. You know what I mean? So that's never going to change. It's just now, how do we get there through these difficult situations? You know what I'm saying? And still be the best when it's all said and done.
And Coach, I wonder if other coaches in the conference, both on the men's and women's side, I'm sure you guys talk. Are they dealing with some of the same issues, or are fortunate that they don't have to?
Oh yeah, everybody's dealing with it because every institution is, dealing with it differently. Because there's no right or wrong, method to dealing with this COVID-19. At the end of the day, man, it's about safety. And the welfare of these kids and also coaches. You know what I mean? And and everybody, you don't know what type of underlying condition that you have until you face with some things like this. So, the main thing right now is trying to get a handle on this so we can get through the year. And, as these numbers are spiking right now throughout the country, and this is the most traveling time from college basketball because, especially with low to mid-major schools, we got to go travel a lot for money games, and you got to go way out of your way, out of your region to go get them. And that's going to be a test, just the travel part, trying to get through that unscathed, because you got to catch flights. You may have to go out to places that are spiking even more. Like we got to go to Iowa. We got to go to Washington State. We got to go to California. You know what I mean? So my thing right now is preparing ourselves to be as safe as possible so we can get in and get out of those situations first, injury-free. Second, not, catching, the COVID.
And that's interesting, Coach, because I went and I looked at the schedule, and they have the Southwest Athletic Conference schedule up. How many non-conference games are you guys scheduled to play? Do you know offhand?
We got to go to Iowa. We played North Carolina Central on Thanksgiving Day, and then we play Iowa the 27th at Iowa. So it's going to be like a little bubble situation, an MTE event that was kind of downsized because of COVID. And then I think we're going to play Gonzaga, and then we come back and we got to go to UAB, Alabama Birmingham, and then I think we got to go to California and play Cal Baptist and Cal Bakersfield. So right now we only have 6 non-conference games.
Okay. Well, thank you for that information. And Coach, finally back to the Southwest Athletic Conference predictions. Anything surprised you about those predictions? Southern University on the men's side picked number 2, and Texas Southern number 1.
I can't get into all that. You know what I'm saying? That's everybody's. Like last year, they predict us 7th. We were preseason number 7. To play 7th in the conference, and we end up 1 game out of first place, and was the hottest team. We won one of the last 14 out of 16 games. So, that's what other people. That's their deal too. That's what makes college athletics exciting, preseason things, things like that. But at the end of the day, it's where you end up at the end. And that's what we want to strive for, to make sure that we're where we need to be starting in January and peaking like we were and playing our best basketball better than anybody else in the conference in March. So that's our goal right now.
You heard it first from Coach Sean Woods, men's basketball coach at Southern University. And once again, you'll find out quickly in conference play, because you got the Texas 2-step in Baton Rouge right off the bat in conference play, Prairie View and Texas Southern. So with that being said, you'll have a quick test with your team in conference play, but by all means, it's not win all, take all early on in the conference season, but basically one who endures and does well over a period of time. Coach, any closing comments you would like to give to the listening audience?
No, just, everybody stay safe and understand that this disease is for real. So remember to wear your mask and keep your hands washed and do all the proper things that we're supposed to be doing so we can get a handle on this thing and get on to normal life, because as you know, athletics is a big part of our culture. And if there's no athletics, that's real, it makes it tough on everyone. And then also, to give these kids an opportunity, just like everybody else before them, to be college athletes and to be young adults and to be able to experience some things that we were able to experience, because it is weighing on a lot of people. And just stay, mentally and spiritually grounded. And, God's going to find a way, and hopefully sooner than later. So, that's my take on the things like that. I mean, it puts everything in perspective. But we still have a job to do. And, that's why these kids, for the most part, are on scholarship to and did all these AAU things and all the investments to get to this point. And they deserve to have seasons and the experience that everyone else has had. And, we want to get it to the point to where not only we just playing games, but there's fans in the stands because, that's a motivating factor too. So let's all do our part every single day so we can make these things happen and come back to a reality in a normal situation and also to a normal situation.
Well said. And once again, let me say this. I appreciate what you've done for the Southern basketball program. And I tell you what, last year was just a great run. I know it was last year, but you still had to be proud of that team last year. And if it wasn't for the pandemic, who knows? But you guys made a strong case to say, hey, we were going to be standing on top at the end. But Coach Woods, appreciate the time as always. Be safe. And we look forward to talking with you again real soon.
You too, man. Anytime.
All right. Thank you, sir. That was Coach Sean Wood, men's basketball coach at Southern University. Going to take a quick timeout. When I come back, visit with Coach Van Pettaway next in hour number 2. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com.
Hello, this is Alonzo Hardy Jr., the president of the SWAC Alumni Association. The SWAC Alumni Association is an organization founded on December 10, 1999, at the Sheraton Hotel in Birmingham, Alabama. Its mission is to serve as a rallying ground for individuals who have made the Southwestern Athletic Conference the illustrious conference that it is today. Its membership is open to former student athletes who played in the conference in any sport, as well as to coaches, athletic administrators, staff members, game officials, and fans. Annually, the association holds a Legends Awards and Roast Banquet or luncheon where it honors individuals with Lifetime Achievement Awards, a Chuck Prophet Wackenmaster Award, and occasionally a Distinguished Service Award. Proceeds from that event help to finance degree completion scholarships for student athletes who have exhausted their playing eligibility at SWAC universities, but who may still need an extra semester or 2 to complete their college studies. For more information on the SWAC Alumni Association or to get information on becoming a member, you can send correspondence to SWAC Alumni Association, 875 Miller Creek Lane, Newport News, Virginia, 23602. The email address is swacalumuniassociation@yahoo.com.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth! I have a greater responsibility than you can possibly fathom. You don't want the truth because deep down in places you don't talk about at parties, you want me on that wall. You need me on that wall.
Join us for a daily episode of the Mike Prince Show right here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. I'm going to visit now with Coach Van Pettaway. Coach, good morning to you, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing fine, Carlos. Good morning to you and everybody else, and I hope everybody has had an enjoyable week.
Yeah, an enjoyable week. Just got a chance to talk to Coach Woods, and it kind of put me in a situation now where he sounded, kind of frustrated with preseason practice going on and with COVID-19 and some of the hardships that they're facing. And I asked him, about, who can he lean on from an emotional standpoint. He talked about the mental aspect of these young student athletes, what they're going through, and then you have some players test positive. It sets you back, and then they were set back, because they came back, later to get ready for the season. So it's just something that all coaches, they're having to deal with, Coach Pettaway, in this this time here with COVID-19.
Right. The COVID has affected a lot of people in a lot of different ways. And right now, the mental health of the athletes and the coaches, I think, should be a priority. I mean, you have to really look at it because this is so stressful as a player. You got to try to do the right things when you're not practicing or playing if you're a football player. And at the same time, you still got to be a student. And it's a lot on the plate. And then the thing that you're asking these 18, 19-year-olds to do is not to socialize. And that's one of the big parts of being a college student.
Yeah.
I mean, the college atmosphere, the college life. But then now you have to ask these athletes to refrain from that. And then on the men's side, how are you going to find your future wife if all you're seeing are your teammates? And then if you're on the women's side, how are you going to find your future husband when all you're doing is looking at your teammates? So it's a tough situation for them. And then when you look at it from the coaching aspect, now you got to worry about your players. You got to worry about your own family. You got to worry about your job, because right now, some of these places, they don't care about the virus. Coaches' jobs are still on the line, and that's a lot of pressure for a coach. So I feel bad for some of the coaches now because of the pandemic and everything. Because as a coach, you're used to a schedule, you're used to a regimen. As a coach, you normally can control your situation because if you're a good coach, you're on top of all aspects. But they have God has dropped something on all of us that we know nothing about, that we can't handle. So that put coaches in a very bad situation because you're not in control now. The virus controls what you do, what you can and cannot do. And then in basketball, when you got to take a break for 2 weeks, you start all over. And then you can't even start from where you left off because your kids, their bodies have changed in 2 weeks. So it's starting all over again. And then for those coaches who are on the hot seat, that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing. And so you're adding the stress from all areas, and that is tough. So the mental health of these coaches and players at this time is going to be a big thing, and it's going to take a big toll.
You're absolutely right, and I guess it puts things in perspective because we talked on this show, we have conversations about coaches under pressure, and albeit to your point, the spring should not be even the time where you're kind of looking at a coach being under pressure. You're looking forward. You just kind of, if you could, just cut out the spring. And I've had conversations with people who have told me they really don't think there's not going to be a spring with football. And a couple of persons have told me that they don't think they're going to have sports. They're just going to shut it down like the Ivy League did.
Well, that's a big possibility, Carlos, because we don't have a grip as a society. We do not have a grip on the virus yet. So the virus could very well tell us all, hey, we shutting everything down. If your players can't remain healthy, you can't have a season. And we're seeing that right now. You look at the SEC. Look at how many games are canceled on this one day. And then if these kids got to go for 2 weeks, if they got to isolate for 2 weeks, that's going to affect 2 games, not just this weekend. That puts the games for next weekend in jeopardy.
Yeah.
So this is until they can get a grip on the virus, everything is just going to be up in the air. The one thing I wish would happen, the NC2A gave all the athletes a pass. I think all the administrators need to give coaches a pass. That's just me personally, because these are untrying times. The people that are on the hot seat, they shouldn't be on the hot seat this year. Wait until there's a normal year. But in some cases, that's not going to happen now. Some of these administrators are still going to release some of these coaches, and this is a tough time to be doing that.
Yeah, and realistically, you're looking at probably 2022.
Right.
Where even then, you may be still required to, mask up, or some will just do it on their own anyway. And
Carlos, this has even been, even though I'm retired, I still try to be active when it comes to the game of basketball. I'm still on the NC2A Ethics Basketball Coalition. I'm still a part of that. But for the first time, I have yet to go to a high school event. I had one of my former coaches to call me last night and invite me to a local game. And I just told him, I said, man, I'm not doing that now. Right now, my health and the health of my family is more important than me sitting in the stands evaluating a kid or trying to help another coach look at a prospect. I'm not doing that right now. I've looked at the SWAC schedule. There are several games. You got Alcorn coming to UAB. You got Southern coming to UAB. These are games that I normally would see in person, so that I have a heads up on some of the SWAC teams. My goal is to always try to see every team in person at least once per season. That way I can stay on top of everything. But in these trying times, I have yet to leave my house for an athletic event. And for high school, the only thing that I've done this summer, my little grandboys were in T-ball outside. I showed up and stood along the fence by myself and watched them. But other than that, the thing that I love, watching basketball and seeing basketball live, I've yet to do that. So the virus has affected me mentally because I'm afraid to do it. I'm afraid to go out there. Well, I would instead of saying afraid, I'm too cautious. I'm more cautious about going out to see kids. This morning, I've already had a coach to call me, a high school coach that asked me to evaluate a player on whether or not he's a prospect at the point guard position. He gave me all the information. I said, now, Coach, I'm going to be honest. I don't know when I get an opportunity to see these kids. Because I said, right now, I'm not going out. And that's tough. That's tough.
Yeah. It is. And Coach, to your point, I was watching a local high school game on television. And just looking into the crowd, it's supposed to be spaced out.
Yep.
They're not following that. And,
right.
And, because they're young, I guess, and looking at them, they did look young, and they're huddled up together and they're, screaming and, just having fun. I can understand that. To some, it's just not worth it. You have
right.
You have to look at self, family, if you're married and kids, what have you. You have to look at all that, and I can understand that. I really can. So,
and I know last week, when Notre Dame upset Clemson, those kids, people went after the students at Notre Dame after they stormed the field and stuff. It's just totally different now, and we got to sit back and wait until they get a grip on this virus before we can just come back to normal. And I don't even see us being normal by the fall. I just don't see it. I don't see it.
And a listener, to your point, he texted me and said, with basketball, we travel far for those money games. And Coach Woods was talking about, because I hadn't seen non-conference schedule for Southern, but you mentioned Washington, Gonzaga, I guess playing Gonzaga and Washington is going to Iowa, and he said, Birmingham.
Right, he's got to come to UAB, yep.
Yeah, but the listener says, how can we possibly keep them safe on those trips, and you still have to, test and get the testing, and but he mentioned, and it's no secret, a lot of those basketball coaches, you've seen these schedules before, and you know why they have to do it. They're still expected to bring in money to the athletic department. But the listener was saying, how can guarantee their safety? How can they possibly keep them safe? But by the grace of God.
Right, correct.
When you're going, when you're traveling like that.
Right, because see, with them, some of those games they got to fly to them, and they got to go to different airports, running across different people. And then when you on that plane, that airplane, you don't know what exposure those other people have had. So it's real tough. Even on a bus ride, everybody in your traveling party, I'm assuming, will be tested before you leave, and you got to assume that they have been doing what they're supposed to do to remain safe. So it's just a very tough time. And then when you were mentioning about the schedules, yesterday and this morning, I went on the website. You still got Pine Bluff, Texas Southern, and Mississippi Valley. They don't even have their preseason schedules out. On their website, all it is are the conference schedules. Yeah. But for the ones that I've seen, everybody has had anywhere from 7 to 9 games that they're playing in the preseason to get them ready for the SWAC tournament. And because I'm so close to Birmingham, UAB sent their schedule out, and that's how I saw where UAB and Alcorn, Southern is playing UAB along with Alcorn during this preseason time, and that's even up in the air whether or not I get a chance to see them live, because I'm still concerned about just riding down just to be in the arena. How many people are they going to allow in? Who's going to be in? I don't even know if they'll let me in. That remains to be seen, and that's you all of this to the virus, because we're not on top of it yet. And I just pray to God that we can get a wrap on this thing so that we can all return to our normal lives.
Well, and then too, Coach Woods, not Coach Woods, but Courtney Gaucher, VP, Vice President, Director of Athletics at Florida A&M, he basically said they were going on with basketball, but it wouldn't be any fans. And,
right.
He did mention that, oh boy, now it escapes me. They were hosting a big school coming to FAMU, but again, it wouldn't be any fans in the games.
Right. Well, I think that's going to have to be nationwide. I don't see very many arenas allowing people in, because the virus could get trapped in inside of a building, and it would affect so many different people. But it's going to be interesting to see if they'll be able to finish the college season, because we don't know how this thing is going to affect us from one week to the next week.
Now, that is a true statement. Not that the rest of the statements were not true, but very, very, very true. And hopefully, a few years from now, and I wanted to ask Mr. Gaucher about this as far as the economics of this pandemic with the athletic programs. Another discussion, and you have a lot of Zoom meetings now because of the pandemic, but you also have a lot of group text messages, right? And the discussion was this: how long will it take? Say if you're at Alabama A&M and your budget, your athletic department, how long will it take to get back to those pre-pandemic numbers? And hopefully they were good. you're thinking 3, maybe 4 years.
Right, and see, Carlos, here's the thing too. What does each state do? Some state here in Alabama, you can use some of the state money towards athletics. I think they take it to like student activities, but all states are not like that. So if you got a state where those budgets cannot be subsidized with state funds, it's going to take them even longer to bounce back. And that's why I've always, I've said since the pandemic, our alumni are more important now than ever before. We have to step up. We have to step up for our alma maters, our schools, or if you're just a fan or a friend of the school, this is the time they need your financial support. Because we're going to need it, because you don't have those other revenue streams that you've been using. There are no guarantee games for football. That was the biggest draw. In basketball, these coaches, their schedules are reduced. They can't play any more than 8 to 9, and they've been playing double-digit games to help offset the budget. So that's going to be a big key, and there will be years before these budgets will get back to pre-pandemic.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So, and even with what you said, there are alums. They've been hit financially.
Yep.
Losing jobs, furloughed, laid off, no job. So, this pandemic, it has really done some damage. But in spite of all of that, you just look forward to the day where you're not talking about it.
Right.
And this too shall pass. Some way, somehow, you'll get through. We'll get through this all.
Right, because I want to see SWAC basketball. I would love to see it, but not at the expense of the kids getting the virus, or the coaches, or anybody in that vein. But I would love to see SWAC basketball. I think it'll be, if we can play, I think it'll be an exciting year. This is a turnaround year for some of the schools, and a lot of teams made progress last year, and I wanted to see if the momentum is going to carry over into this year. And you talked about Coach Woods. His program is one of the ones that I saw a lot of progress in. I would love to see if they can pick up where they left off from last year. I would like to see if Prairie View can continue the success they've had with almost a new team now, because, though that was a senior-laden team last year. So it'll be interesting to see them. Then when you look at Texas Southern, they were right there last year. Okay, with him not bringing in any new recruits, how has that team gelled? These are the things that I'm looking for. One of the players that I was looking forward to seeing again was a kid at Valley, Coach's son. This SWAC has a lot to offer when it comes to basketball. Hunter was one of the top freshmen in the league last year, and I got a chance to see him live. He's a very exciting player. And then, of course, I wanted to see what if Jackson State. I wanted to see if Coach Brent was going to still have those kids playing football on the basketball court. I love the way his team plays defense.
The physicality.
People. Huh?
The physicality of Jackson State men's basketball.
Right. One of the toughest that I've seen. I'm just being flat out. That I love the way his kids play defense and the way he teaches. And now I know why his kids are always hurt, because they really get after it. And when you do it like that, you're going to have injuries. You're going to have injuries. I guarantee you, when you check the records, most of their injuries have occurred in practice and not in the games, because they're getting after it. He's getting those kids ready. In other words, he's telling them, you got to do this every day so it's a carryover to the game. And so there are a lot of intriguing things that are going on in the SWAC that I would love to see, but we just have to wait.
We'll have to wait and see. And believe it or not, Coach, most of the conversation that I've been monitoring and conversations that have been had is basically women's basketball.
Oh, yep.
JSU brings in a 4-star guard. You look at Prairie View; they've added some talent. Southern University,
yep.
A 6'4" young lady, 6'3", and boy, I tell you what, Southern has gone into Texas and really have brought in some players. So, Coach Reed at Jackson State, I mean, my goodness, I mean, yeah. A lot of discussion about women's basketball in the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and in a perfect world, 2021, then you look at a Bethune-Cookman women's basketball team that just flat out, they're good.
Yeah, but you know what? Both of those Florida schools, they may have a formula that will help them rebound faster, because if you think about it, with both of them not doing anything athletically this season, that's going to save that university a lot of money now. So they might be able to rebound and be ready for the SWAC faster by them opting out for right now. And I know at FAMU they're saying they're going to play basketball, but that's not expensive as having all the sports going. So there's money to be saved for both of those Florida schools, and that'll give them a big jump start on their SWAC schedules. Yeah.
Well, people are, quote unquote, looking forward to fall 2021.
Yep.
And hopefully everything will work out quickly. NBA's decision to start right before Christmas. it should, and I know television contracts dictate a lot of things, and the money, as Reverend Ike used to say, the lack of money is the root of all evil.
Yeah.
But did you were not surprised by the decision?
No. Okay. No. Money runs everything in this country, and with the amount of money that they got out there in advertising and stuff, you knew that they're gonna have everything ready by Christmas Day, and because they want those Christmas Day games, you know, that's a big revenue day for the NBA and for those advertisers. So no, that did not shock me. The only thing that I'm concerned about is the quick turnaround time between seasons.
Yeah,
you know, that's gonna tell on some of those bodies. These guys haven't had enough time to rest and allow their bodies to relax. So you could have a lot of easy injuries at the early beginning of the NBA schedule. So that's the only thing. And then for the older guys in the league, it's going to be a tough turnaround for them.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping, don't laugh at me, that maybe they would start it in January. But then when I remembered about, you know, advertising and the television package and you know, sponsors, yeah, they're going to start earlier, and the quality of play, I don't know, it may be down a little bit. And then too, you saw what Golden State was looking at playing in the arena, 50% capacity. No way. I don't see that. I do not see that. Not in California is one of the hot spots too. No, I don't see that. And then they're willing to pay to have the people tested. Come on, man. Those tests can be used for everyday people that aren't trying to go to a game. They just want to live. Yeah.
Yep.
Enter, you know, humanity, living life. And if you look at it from that perspective, that's entertainment.
Yep.
But then the rest of us have to live and make it day by day. So you have to put it in perspective. As much as we love to talk about it, watch it, collegiate, athletics, high school sports, professional sports, it shouldn't supersede life.
Correct. And see, God has given all of us 5 senses. We need to use them. You know, that's part of my decision to stay at home instead of going into high school. One of my former players, he's coaching less than 2 miles from my house, but I'm gonna support him spiritually because I'm not going up there until there's a cure. I love him. I like what he's doing with his team, but Coach is not going to be in his presence this year. I did it since he's been up there, so he knows that I'm supporting him. But at this particular time, I think I'm using some of the gifts God gave me, and one of them is your common sense. So that's why I am on that. And I think all of us have to put a pause on it and look at it that way. We should only be doing essential things, like you know, going to the grocery store, going to the doctor, going to work because you have to. Well, that's relaxation, and I'm out there by myself. If I'm gonna get the virus, it's gonna be from the fish. They haven't shown where the fish are giving you the virus yet. So we got to do the things that are necessary first, and then you look at the other things. I miss being present in church, but I'm getting it online every Sunday. They still get my money every week. But me just sitting in church, I miss that. I miss that atmosphere. But we're not back at full service yet, and I don't expect us to be anytime soon. But we as a society, if we want to see athletics, we have to do our part. We have to do our part, and that's doing the sensible things.
That is so true. That is so true. Coach, we appreciate it as always. Continue to stay safe, be safe, and be blessed.
Thank you. And you all be blessed, and let's talk again. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. That was Coach Van Pettaway here on the Carlos Brown Show. Take a quick time out. When I come back, I'll visit with Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network. And I want you to check out an article, HBCUsports.com by Kendrick Marshall. There's no escaping the COVID-19 reality that HBCUs have to shut sports down, all of them. And he lays it out as to the reason why. I thought it was a very good article and giving his opinion on it. And he gives you some facts as well. Facts versus opinions. You get a little bit of both. And I'll do that next with Charles Edmond. Facts versus opinions. Remember last week it got kind of interesting. We talked facts versus opinion. The fact was that the Saints and Tampa Bay was going to play, but my opinion was the Saints they were not going to win. As a matter of fact, I stuck my whole foot and ankle in my mouth, saying that team was one of the worst 5-2 teams out there. But humble pie and eating crow, you got to do that. And so I came back and said, was I wrong? Boy, was I wrong. Take a quick time out. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show on the Open Mic Podcast Network and Spreaker.com.
I present to you 3 of the fiercest subjects ever assembled in the cage of doom. First, the brain-wrenching behemoth Algebra 2, weighing in at a mind-boggling 800 pounds. Foreign languages! The multilingual international sensation capable of tossing you clear across the Atlantic. And finally, biology. More ferocious than formaldehyde, she'll dissect you 1 chromosome at a time. Who among you will step up to their challenge?
Yeah, I'll do it. Me too. I'm in. Sign me up.
Take on the tough classes now. You need them to prepare for college. Find out which classes you need at knowhowtogo.org.
Brought to you by the American Council on Education, Lumina Foundation for Education, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Some of our listeners are funny. Say, how do you like those Saints now? Yeah, I was wrong. That happens from time to time. New Orleans Saints all over Tampa Bay. Wow. That was a interesting ball game, but I enjoyed every minute of it. Quite honestly, after the first two series, I knew I was in trouble with my prediction. I put my foot in my mouth. It was early on. You could see that the Saints were ready to play. But now they've got to put that in the rearview mirror and look forward to some tough games upcoming. But now let me visit with Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network. Charles, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, and go Saints tomorrow as they play the 49ers. You know, I'm a Rams fan, so I'm pulling for a 49ers loss. You know, the Saints look like Super Bowl. Hey, they look like title contenders last week against Tampa. I was really shocked at how they just dominated.
So now, Charles, you were shocked. You heard what I just said, but I remember saying, I hope I am wrong.
Yeah.
And I definitely was wrong. So, with that being said, did you get a chance to read the article by Kendrick Marsh for HBCUsports.com? There's no escaping the COVID-19 reality that HBCUs have to shut sports down, all of them.
I did.
And what is your thoughts there, Mr. Edmond?
He's not wrong. He's not wrong. I think we are at a dark place right now, and it looks like it's getting darker. You know, in terms of how the case count is trending in the wrong direction. You know, you're seeing a lot of cancellations. The SEC was hit hard this week. I did a high school playoff game last night, and there were 10, and I texted to you last night, there were 10 high school playoff games canceled. And the reality is the school that has the cases, they have to forfeit the game, and they're done. Their postseason dreams are over. I mean, it's just as brutal as that. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot more of that as we roll along. I would like to believe that there's some light at the end of the tunnel. But right now, we're in a dark place, and I think Florida A&M sent the first salvo. They're obviously pausing for the spring, and they say, "Hey, welcome to the SWAC, and we'll see you in the fall of 21." The MEAC schools have until next week sometime to decide whether they're going to play in the spring football programs. Norfolk State's having some issues. That's been reported. So there's a lot of moving pieces. And in my opinion, he's not wrong. Whether or not it'll happen or not, I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping that we get to a place where we can play. And I sent a text to someone who's familiar with the SWAC's thinking, because other people have said the SWAC's on the clock now. With Florida A&M pausing, that impacts Jackson State because they had a game with Jackson State. So now Jackson State's looking for a game. Right now, based on my conversation with the person familiar with the SWAC thinking, they're just kind of seeing the case count and seeing how things go. I did predict when the SWAC paused in the fall back this summer that November was going to be the next time frame we're going to be looking at, because I think in the next 30 days, I think we're going to know whether or not we're going to play football, SWAC football, in the spring, because you're not going to wait until January to make this decision. I think this decision will be made well before then. So he's not wrong. We are in a dark place. Is it trending upward or downward? I think right now we're trending downward. How far do we go? Where's the bottom? And I don't think we've gotten anywhere close to that yet. Our medical experts predicted this, and here we are. So now, where do we go from here? He's not wrong. And we'll just see what our SWAC brass, presidents, ADs, coaches say about it here in the coming month, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I got a chance to read the article as well, and you're looking at Bethune-Cookman, FAMU, the Ivy League, cases, over 240,000 deaths. That's a lot, a tremendous amount, and cases, running rampant right now. And this, of course, as you stated, this was predicted by the experts, in conjunction with the flu season and cold weather, people, and there is still a segment of the population that do not believe in wearing masks or masking up. There's a segment of the population that still believes this is a hoax. There's a segment of the population that still believes that this is just pumped up flu. But when you have to look, and I know people personally who are dealing with COVID-19 with their families, they've lost loved ones. That's a tough situation. That is a tough situation. So hopefully, and you still have the protocols in place, stay at home, washing the hands, masking up. But you got to have everybody on board. And if you don't, you're defeating the purpose. You're defeating the purpose. But with that being said, Charles, I had Courtney Gaucher on earlier in the show, also Coach Sean Woods, and you could just hear the frustration in his voice. Trying to practice, and you get a positive test, then you have to stop practice, then you have to start back. We'll have to, you got contact, looking at what they've done, where they've been for 2 weeks, and you could just hear the frustration in his voice. And he said, talking to other coaches in the league, they're going through the same thing at their respective universities.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. I've talked with our coach, Landon Bussey, and our women's coach, Nate Kilbert, just the other day, and it's a moving target. It's nothing set in stone in terms of how this thing is going to go. I mean, I just did a random pull-up of some of our non-conference basketball schedules in the SWAC, and it ranges anywhere from 0, based on what I've seen on the website. Some don't even have their schedules up, to as many as 9. Prairie and Alcorn of 9. Of course, about Southern. I pulled up their schedule. I didn't see a non-conference schedule there. I don't know. Maybe they'll release it. Texas Southern, I didn't see it. So it's clearly a moving target. I mean, games might be played. It might not be played. And I think that's tough, and I understand the frustration. I think Coach Bussey, a first-year coach, is trying to get it all figured out, and, we're going to have a 12-day bubble, talking about our men, because they've got a number of games on the East Coast. They got a trip to Hawaii, possibly, scheduled there, playing out in California. If that happens or might not, we don't know, but as of now, it's still a go. And this kind of goes back to what we talked about, or one of the bigger questions you asked me a while back: should coaches be under a bigger microscope with all this going on? And I've said this, and I said it last night. I don't think, and it may be unrealistic of me to say it, and I'm saying this at all levels, from pee-wee to high school to college, regardless of what level, even in the pros. You can't put all this pressure on these coaches and organizations with everything going on. The mental bill of this still has yet to be paid. As a matter of fact, the mental bill hasn't even been printed yet. Once we get a vaccine and get through all this, that's fine. But what's going to be the mental toll? Because we're all humans. We're all flesh and blood. And some of us are just going through things mentally that we don't even talk about. And, I was texting a nurse yesterday about this, and she agreed that, she's on the front lines, and the mental part no one talks about. And I think that's something we're going to have to talk about as we go forward. So going back to my point, should coaches be under a finer microscope with everything going on. And I just believe no coach should be fired this year. I mean, it's not going to happen. I mean, we've seen coaches in the NBA get fired. We've seen NFL coaches get fired. So it's happening. I mean, I don't have a dog in the fight, but I just think that with everything going on, you have to take a step back and understand these circumstances are just unusual, surreal, unpredictable, and no one has a playbook for it. So, you know, I might be on a rant on that. I just think that we all just need to take a step back. I hope our athletic directors and presidents at our schools are thinking the same thing, that, hey, you know, just do the best you can with what you got. And I hope that's the theme. It may be, may not. We'll see. But if that's the case, then I think, you know, coaches will feel a little more comfortable, because then they'll kind of take a step back. And, you know, what Sean Wood said, Landon Bussey, I mean, this is his first go-around as a coach, so he's being tempered about it. But other coaches really want to dig into it, but you can't because of what's going on. So I just hope that, you know, things slow down a little bit. But, you know, basketball, I'm dealing with it in terms of how often I'm going to be tested. There are some non-conference games on the books that we're supposed to be playing, but we don't know. And if it happens, I'm going to have to be tested before I leave. I might be tested when I get to these different sites. I'll be in Wichita, Kansas. I'll be in Nacogdoches, Texas, Oxford, Mississippi, you know, what their protocols are. At the arena, you know, I was asked by an SID at UAB the other day, are you going to be coming by yourself, or are you going to have a crew of people? You know, radio networks have 3, 4, 5 people at the scorer's table. It's just going to be me. So those are the questions I'm sure I'm going to be asked going forward, and they're appropriate questions. So, you know, these are just the balls that we have to juggle as media broadcasters, as players, as coaches. We all got to juggle this stuff. And it's uncertain, it's strange, but it's reality, and we just have to dig in and get used to it.
And that's why I said months ago when we first started, you know, talking about it, you know, you're broadcasting, you know, are they going to put you on a limit of games to do? I know conference games, you know, you still have to do some traveling, but that's a question there. And you asked me, would I be doing a lot of traveling? And I told you no. You know, basically for the reason that Coach Pettaway talked about, he's, you know, certain situations you're just not going to be able to do. You got to do what's best for you and your family and to be safe. So, you know, I can understand people who don't feel comfortable doing that right now. But what you want to do is just hope that things start getting better. And when they get better, some of these pressures will, you know, be released, because it is a tough situation. And Coach Woods brought up about the mental aspect, as you just brought up. You know, a lot of people don't talk about that part of it.
Yeah.
So you know, it's a situation you just hope again it gets better, and when it does get better, I think you appreciate things a little bit more, wouldn't you say?
I would definitely agree. I mean, I think these are trying times, and we're learning a lot. You know, we're finding creative ways of doing things. I know you've always been hard on that. You love creativity, Carlos. You know, finding a different way. I mean, there's
only so much YouTube you can watch.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm saying the creativity in terms of raising funds, fundraising, and you talk about athletic directors and raising money and trying to find different ways to raise money. Well, in this situation with limited resources and limited funds, limited revenue, you know, you have to be creative, and you always talk about that. And we're trying to do some stuff, and I'm sure other schools are trying to do some things. The creativity being as safe as possible to try to bring in some revenue that's not being made with football and won't be made with football even in the spring with limited capacity, and basketball as well. So you always talk about the creative aspect. We're going to see that, you know, full bore come spring when we have football, and even, you know, here in a couple of months with basketball season. So you're going to see that, and I think that mental toll is going to be key. The financial toll is going to be key. Mm-hmm. You know, I was talking to somebody about this the other day. I think I think schools will probably be a little bit better and a little more comfortable financially if they got the March Madness money. That's kind of what I call it, the March Madness money. When March Madness was canceled, and I can say this because our athletic director, Derek Horn, told me this, we're out of $600,000. That was going to be our share of March Madness. I'm sure other SWAC schools are going to probably get the same amount, maybe a couple pennies more, a couple pennies less, but somewhere in that ballpark. If all of our schools got some of that March Madness stuff, I think they would be feel a little bit better. Not much, but that's revenue that's come in right in the pandemic. But that didn't happen. So I don't know how many ADs have talked about it. I'm sure Roman Banks has talked about it with you. Derek Horn has talked about it with me. But I think that's the other thing that's coming back to get us as well. I mean, I don't know. Dr. Prince probably knows what Prairie View and their share of it. I mean, they're working through it as well. So we're all kind of dealing with this. And I think if we got those funds, I think we could probably navigate the waters a little bit better. But since we didn't, it's a struggle. But you got to deal with safety. You got to keep your kids safe, and you have to do the best you can with what you have or don't have. And I think that's what our schools are trying to do. We hope we have some non-conference basketball. We might not. And I think right now we got to look forward to January to seeing how SWAC basketball is going to look. We're going to be these players are going to be tested 3 times a week probably, and that's a cost, for testing. So it's a lot to juggle. And I know for fans, we're desperate. I think we're in a desperate mode now. Most of us, they want to see some SWAC action. Frustrated, angry probably in some cases. But this is where we are, and we just have to buckle up and see where it goes. We're not trying to paint a doom and gloom picture, but I think at some point, reality has to set in. Like, look, this is where we are. We didn't want to be here, but we are here, and we got to make the best of it. And I think that's what these ADs are doing. These coaches are doing. I'm around coaches, players, and ADs, and their head is spinning, trying to figure it all out. And it's going to continue for a little bit. And hopefully, with a vaccine in the spring, we get through it and get better. And you and I talked about this. It could take 2 to 3 years before we can get back on solid. And I think if, without a vaccine, it could be, you tack on another year to it. It could be 3 to 4. Could be that. So that's why we have to just buckle up and do the best we can and support our schools the best way we can.
Yeah. And just thought that makes you shudder from a financial standpoint. What happens if there's no NCAA tournament again?
Yeah.
Ooh, boy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think that's going to be the key. I think right now, football, we'll see how that goes, but I think March Madness, if that doesn't happen again, that's going to be even a bigger toll. That's another $600,000 plus. So you're talking about, from basketball alone, over $1 million lost with our conference schools and counting. And so let's just see how that goes. I'm hopeful. I'm a glass half full guy, sometimes to my detriment. But, that's, my wife gets on me about it all the time. You always have an optimistic approach instead of a realistic approach. And that's just kind of how I've been. But I think this pandemic puts the reality spin more so in the forefront than anything. I'm learning a heck of a lot over the last 2 or 3 weeks about how serious this stuff is. High school games canceled, testing, when I'm going to have to get tested. All this stuff. It's really hitting home to me because sports is coming up here, and we're talking about basketball. We kind of set back for a while, but now SWAC basketball is going to happen in non-conference, and it's going to be a moving target with testing and everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, Charles. Wow. I'm going to have to do something after the show to kind of pick my spirits up. Any suggestions, Charles?
I got something for you, Carlos.
What is it?
Defense, Jags, defense. How about that?
And speaking of that, I sent you a picture where they were out in, looked like pads, and quickly I saw Coach McNair. Boy, he sounded like Coach Woods. He was just kind of seemed frustrated already with, players trying to get their bodies back, and it's been tough. If you listen to the show, it's been tough, but guess what? It'll get better.
It sure will. Just hang in there.
Charles, have a great weekend. Be safe.
You too, you guys. Appreciate it.
All right. I want to thank Courtney Gaucher, Vice President and Director of Athletics at Florida A&M, Coach Sean Woods, men's basketball coach at Southern University, Coach Van Pettaway, Charles Epman, and last but not least, Dr. Michael, Brother Prince. Quickly, Dr. Prince, should we tune in as always Sunday night?
Well, I would hope so, my friend. I would really hope so. We got Dr. Jason Cable going to talk to us tomorrow. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Basketball guy.
Yeah, basketball associate commissioner of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. So
that's first and foremost, and then from a sports-wise, former basketball player.
Yes, sir. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. All 6'8" of them.
Oh, okay. I actually thought he was much bigger than what he stated on the show, but right. He played big.
6'4". He was 6'4".
Yeah, well, he was a very good player and very good associate commissioner. So, tune in, folks. Tune in. And as always, I'll say this. Support shows like Coles Brown Show, the Mike Prince Show. Black Media Matters. So, support those shows financially, whatever you can afford. Appreciate it. Until next Saturday at 10 a.m. for another edition of the Coles Brown Show. As always, peace and God bless.